In the deep forests and frigid grasslands of North America, wolves don't hunt with brute strength, but with tactics and cold patience. The captured moments showcase their precise attack instincts, where every move is calculated. Not every confrontation ends instantly, but the persistent pressure of the pack gradually shifts the balance. These are the most brutal attacks, where coordination and timing determine the outcome. In the forests and prairies of North America, gray wolves rely on hunting instincts honed over thousands of years of evolution. An adult can weigh from 70 to over 110 pounds, but their true strength lies not in size, but in their ability to coordinate as a pack. They move silently, maintain distance, and observe prey for minutes before deciding to approach. Wolves don't pounce immediately. They test the prey's reaction, assessing its speed, stamina, and signs of weakness. When the chase begins, the goal isn't an instant attack, but to disrupt the prey's rhythm and deplete its energy. In nature, the wolf's hunting instinct is a combination of patience, strategy, and precise teamwork. On the edge of a snow-covered mountainside, the mother wolverine held her position near the entrance of the den, on high alert. Weighing only about 30 to 40 pounds, she was renowned for her fierce territorial instincts and remarkable endurance. Upon spotting a wolf approaching with the intention of probing, she didn't retreat further into the den, but chose to confront it directly. The wolf approached slowly, lowering its head and seeking a favorable angle to get close. But the wolverine suddenly lunged forward, launching an attack to disrupt the approach. A barrage of scratches and bites at close range forced the wolf to maintain distance and always keep an escape route open. The wolf had the advantage of size and could easily overwhelm the wolf if it accepted the higher risk. However, each close approach carried the risk of injury to the leg or face, which could affect the entire pack in subsequent hunts. As the wolf continued its relentless, unwavering charge, its ferocity began to erode the wolf's confidence. Eventually, the wolf gradually retreated from the burrow entrance. This wasn't a defeat in strength, but a choice to avoid unnecessary losses. In nature, smaller individuals sometimes maintain their position through determination and the ability to make their opponents reconsider the cost. On the edge of a clearing in the forest, the bear was feeding in a clearly possessive manner. With a body that could weigh over 400 pounds, it didn't want to leave its food source and had no reason to retreat. The bear's instinct in this situation wasn't to chase, but to hold its position and protect its resources with overwhelming presence. The pack of wolves appeared from multiple directions, but didn't charge immediately. They moved in a wide circle, creating a soft encirclement to exert psychological pressure. Each wolf approached, and then retreated, testing the bear's reaction and level of aggression. A distance was always maintained to avoid casualties should the situation spiral out of control. The bear responded with a powerful growl and slowly advanced. It stood firm, displaying its size and strength instead of attacking directly. The moment the growl echoed and the slight movement forward was enough to disrupt the wolves' rhythm, causing their formation to begin to spread and their will to approach to diminish. Eventually, the wolves retreated in small groups. This wasn't a defeat of strength, but a risk-based decision. Confronting a single, overwhelmingly larger individual without being forced to move came at too high a cost. In nature, sometimes wisdom lies in knowing when to stop. On the edge of the jungle, wild boars survive thanks to their quick reflexes, thick skin, and sharp tusks capable of inflicting serious injury. When threatened, they don't run far, but readily turn to face the attack. However, when surrounded, their defensive advantage begins to be tested. The pack of wolves forms a wide circle, gradually limiting escape routes. One wolf approaches to provoke a reaction, forcing the boar to charge with a powerful butt that can send its opponent flying. Immediately after that moment, the others close in from both sides, biting at the legs and hips to gradually reduce its mobility. The confrontation drags on in high tension. A single mistake can severely injure the wolves. But thanks to close coordination and constant pressure, the boar gradually weakens and loses its counterattack advantage. Victory comes from persistence and precise calculation, not from individual strength. On the vast grasslands of North America, bison survive by their close-knit pack. When standing close together, they form a solid defensive circle where each individual is protected by collective strength. In this state, predators rarely find clear opportunities. The wolf pack is not in a hurry. They move around the edge of the pack, patiently observing and waiting for a moment of vulnerability. When a young animal is slow and pushed away from the protective circle, the formation immediately changes. Two wolves close on either side, maintaining constant pressure but keeping a safe distance. The young animal reacts fiercely, turning and butting in desperation. However, without support from behind, small retreats accumulate into a major disadvantage. The moment of separation from the pack is the breaking point, where the chances of survival rapidly diminish under the relentless pressure of the wolf pack. The hunt ends not just with brute force, but with a strategy of isolating the target. For bison, their position within the herd is their most important defense. When that bond is broken, the natural balance shifts in an irreversible direction. On the windswept tundra, musk oxen survive thanks to their unique collective defense instincts. When danger is detected, the entire pack quickly forms a tight circle, heads facing outwards, with the ox in the center. In this formation, their horns and thick fur create an almost impenetrable wall of protection. The wolf pack attempts to approach, moving swiftly around the defensive circle to find a gap. However, each attempt is met with a simultaneous reaction from the lowered horns. Unable to reach the ox, the wolves are forced to change tactics and wait for an opportunity when an individual separates from the group. When a lone musk ox is pushed away, the rhythm of the confrontation changes. It counterattacks fiercely with direct headbutts, forcing the wolves to take turns attacking and giving it no time to rest. But this constant defense quickly depletes its energy. As the musk ox's reaction slowed, the wolf gradually closed in, applying sustained pressure. The confrontation demonstrated that the musk ox's strength lies in its formation, not in individual attacks. When the circle is broken, the advantage shifts to the more patient one. In the harsh natural environment, cohesion determines survival chances more than any single counterattack. In the frigid tundra, caribou survive by moving in large herds and maintaining a steady pace over long distances. When maintaining a tight formation, they create a uniform movement, making it difficult for predators to pinpoint a specific target. This synchronicity is their most important defense against any ambush. The wolf pack begins by observing from a distance, keeping the wind at a favorable angle and observing the herd's rhythm. As the chase accelerates, the caribou herd panics and their formation gradually widens. A young caribou slows down for even a brief moment, and this slowdown makes it a prime target. The wolves accelerate simultaneously, closing in from behind and sides, maintaining constant pressure to force the young caribou to expend more energy. The mother reindeer calls out loudly, but cannot turn back once the distance has widened too much. The hunt ends quickly to minimize losses, relying on the prey's small mistakes rather than superior strength. In nature, many hunts are decided by a slower than normal pace. When formation is broken, the advantage shifts to the patient and wait-ahead hunter. Sometimes, the decisive moment lasts only a single step. In the fall, in the open forest valleys, bull elks survive thanks to their large size, broad antlers, and considerable stamina. While in the herd, they maintain a firm position and react quickly to danger. But once separated from the group, their defensive advantage begins to diminish with each movement. The wolf pack stalks from a distance, selecting its target after minutes of observation. When the herd panics and spreads out, a bull elk slows down and becomes isolated. The wolves accelerate to nearly 35 to 40 miles per hour in short bursts, closing in from both sides to create constant pressure. Initially, The elk remains strong and responds with powerful antler kicks. However, the alternating approaches force it to constantly shift and rapidly deplete its energy. There is no immediate decisive attack, but rather a gradual wear and tear through the chasing and encirclement. The hunt ends when stamina can no longer be maintained. The wolf's victory doesn't come from a single moment, but from accumulated pressure and precise coordination. In nature, even the most majestic individual can fall when separated from the group and faced with the pack's persistent tactics. Through each confrontation, the wolf demonstrates that its hunting instinct is not just about attack, but about coordination, patience, and accurate risk assessment. Not all prey is weaker, but when separated from their natural advantage, the balance begins to shift. In the wild, collective strength and decisive timing often outweigh individual size or power. And amidst these recorded moments, the instinct for survival remains the unchanging law of nature. In the vast Arctic, where ice and wind merge into one, polar bears are symbols of strength and exceptional adaptability. Every action they take, from waiting for prey to confronting their own kind, is carefully calculated to conserve every precious unit of energy. In this harsh world, patience and self-control are the true foundations of power. Polar bears don't hunt by speed, nor by recklessness. They survive through patience, meticulous planning, and perfect adaptation to the icy environment. Weighing up to 1,600 pounds and nearly 10 feet long, polar bears are at the top of the food chain in the Arctic. Every biological characteristic, from their broad paws and thick layer of fat to their insulating white fur, serves one purpose: conserving energy. They don't pounce, they wait. Hours upon hours lying motionless by a seal's snout, only to deliver a single blow if the opportunity arises. But the success rate is less than 15%. That means each attack carries a serious risk of exhaustion. In this frigid land, where hunger and cold are ever-present threats, only those who can control their energy have a chance of survival. Not the strongest, but those who are persistent and know how to wait for the right moment. Arctic walruses are a species of extraordinary strength in icy regions. An adult can weigh up to 1,400 kilograms, with tusks nearly 90 centimeters long and thick skin that helps withstand impacts and freezing temperatures. When gathered in herds, they form a living fortress where every movement is protected. Polar bears don't choose to attack head-on. They understand that charging into the middle of a walrus herd means defeat. Instead, they move along the edge of the ice, using their breath, footsteps, and gaze to create invisible pressure. The walrus herd begins to stir, alert cries echoing. The bear patiently waits. When a young walrus leaves the center to find a safer spot, a gap appears. The bear accelerated, its heavy but resolute body lunging toward its disoriented prey. The previous stillness shattered, the ice shaking under the weight of the chase. In just seconds, the opportunity was gone. The walrus managed to return to its herd, and the bear stopped, breathing heavily, watching. The attack failed, but it wasn't meaningless. The bear had put the entire herd on alert, forced them to move, and eventually they would leave. In the Arctic, victory isn't just about subduing an opponent, but about forcing them to change positions, opening up another opportunity for tomorrow. On the cold ice, polar bears not only hunt, but also compete with their own kind to defend their territory. When two adult males face each other, there is no hasty action. Both observe each other, maintaining distance, waiting to see what the other will do next. They stand tall, shoulders tense, a low growl echoing through the cold wind. Their slow, circling movements demonstrate vigilance. Each action is a warning, not a provocation. They understand that even a small injury could ruin the upcoming hunting season. The tension builds. Breathing becomes heavier. Finally, the smaller bear turns away, accepting defeat. The other remains still, continuing to observe until its opponent leaves the area. The confrontation ends without violence. In the Arctic, victory lies not in strength, but in the ability to control the situation and know when to stop. Guillemots nest on cliffs up to 1,000 feet high, inaccessible to most predators. This strategy keeps them safe from ground threats and ensures their eggs and chicks are completely protected. But at the end of summer, when the ice melts and the food supply in the sea dries up, a polar bear leaves the ice. It looks up at the cliff, where hundreds of nests are nestled close together. Climbing there is against the bear's physical constitution. Every step is risky. A single slip could send it plummeting into the abyss. Even so, the bear continues. Slow, deliberate steps, claws scraping against the rock, heavy breathing echoing in the cold wind. It's not looking for large prey, only eggs and chicks, the small but essential energy source for survival. When the bear reached its first nest, a cacophony of cries erupted. The wind blew fiercely, rocks tumbled down, but the bear didn't stop. The climb ended with a few small eggs, but in return, its biological limits were tested. In the Arctic, sometimes the risk isn't driven by predatory instinct, but by the will to survive. Seals are the most valuable source of nutrition for polar bears. They spend most of their time under the ice, only surfacing to breathe through tiny holes. And these breathing holes become the focal point of all hope for survival in the icy wilderness. A mother bear, having just endured a long winter, her back hunched against the ice, breathing slowly, almost motionless. Not because she was weak, but because she was calculating. She wasn't looking for food for herself, but for the small mouths waiting in the snow den. Hours passed. Then a slight movement beneath the ice. The bear didn't attack immediately, it waited. When the opportunity arose, the action was swift, precise, and flawless. A seal was pulled from the ice, its thick layer of fat the most valuable part preserved for its cub. The hunt ended in silence. No roars, no chases, only absolute patience and an unmistakable choice. In the Arctic, survival is not for the impatient. It belongs to mothers who know how to wait and who will give the best for their offspring's future. Beluga whales are beluga whales that live on the edges of ice floes in the Arctic. They have agile bodies, thick blubber that retains heat, and a highly sensitive sense of underwater movement. When they sense danger, beluga easily change direction to escape. Two young male bears were lurking at the edge of the ice. As soon as they spotted a white figure, both immediately swooped down. But with a single maneuver, the beluga escaped. An older male bear was waiting not far away. It wasn't in a hurry. Choosing a position close to the shore, where the water was shallow and easy to control, it observed the current and waited for the tide to recede. When the time came, a single precise slap brought the beluga back. The result was clear. Not because it was stronger, but because it understood its environment better. The old bear won not by rushing, but by choosing the right moment. In this icy world, calmness is sometimes the most effective strategy. Caribou are symbols of resilience in the Arctic. They travel in herds for hundreds of miles, braving snow, ice, and cold winds to find tundra. On land, their speed and coordination allow them to easily evade most predators. First recorded video of a polar bear hunting an adult caribou. But on the water, all advantages disappear. As the ice melts and the caribou herds are forced to swim through narrow channels, they become vulnerable. A male bear lurks at the edge of the ice, lowering its body and moving slowly so as not to create waves. Just minutes later, an opportunity arises. A young caribou separates from the herd, swimming more slowly. The bear plunges down, its massive body gliding swiftly through the cold water. Under its weight and precision, the prey has no time to react. The bear dragged the caribou onto the ice, standing there breathing heavily in the frost. The attack ended quickly, cleanly, and quietly. In the Arctic, victory doesn't belong to the faster one, but to the one who understands how to best utilize their environment. Pack structure. The alpha wolf leads, the cubs follow, and all actions are guided by the collective signal. Despite their discipline and coordination, in the frigid polar regions, the chances of success in hunting are only about 20%. When the wolf pack brought down a caribou, the smell of blood quickly spread on the wind. A polar bear spotted it and approached. It wasn't in a hurry, only moving slowly, each step heavy on the ice. The atmosphere tensed as the wolves realized the presence of the stronger predator. Howling echoed, the wolf pack fanned out to surround the prey, but just seconds later, the bear's weight of over 1,500 pounds and its gaze were enough to force the entire pack to retreat. There was no clash, only a silent withdrawal. From precise hunts to daring climbs, polar bears clearly demonstrate the art of survival on the edge of life. Every action, however small, is the result of thousands of years of adaptation and natural selection. In the frigid world, they remind us that instinct and patience can be stronger than sheer strength. In the Arctic, survival is not for the reckless, but for those who understand their own limits.